What's up, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. It's time for a recap of what went down on part 1 of the Teen Mom OG Season 9 reunion. It was, wow, action-packed, and we really deserved it after the snooze fest that was this season. So we start off with deadbeat Amber, who looks high as a kite. Is sobriety not part of her probation? Because Anyway, she tells us that Leah is still not interested in talking to her and that there's no relationship with Leah if she's not getting along with Gary and Christina. And she also says that Christina needs to know her place when it comes to her relationship with Leah. What relationship? Do y'all see one? Because I definitely do not. She also says that she's thrown her hands up and basically washed her hands of having a relationship with Leah, which again, why she's saying that Christina needs to know her place. If Amber herself is now for the second time saying that she is washing her hands of her child. Remember earlier, her own mom, who was a deadbeat herself, allegedly, of course, had to tell her on camera that your child is always going to be your problem. Remember how embarrassing that scene was? And now here she is again, basically saying that she's thrown her hands up. So when you say things like this, then how can you turn around and claim that the woman who is actually a mother to this child needs to know her place? Maybe it's you who needs to know your place and leave that child alone once and for all, because clearly you're not interested in being what she needs from you. So Dr. Drew asked her if she was all right, which to me was quite clearly a question of her sobriety, because she could hardly open her eyes. And when she did open her eyes, she could hardly keep them open. I think he was like, are you all right, or are you high, basically? And I think she perceived it as, are you all right with this whole way that the relationship with Leah, or non-relationship, I should say, is panning out. So Gary then joins her on the couch, and we talk about him offering her a trailer on his land, but Amber claimed that he and Christina should be doing more to help her, which to me was hilarious because they have been practically raising her for years now. And not just her, not just Leah, but also her other child, James. You remember, like, they aired her out. They were like, sometimes she comes just to drop that child off and pick him up. So what more can they be doing for you, Amber? They're raising you and your 2 children pretty much alone at this point. So you need to sit down somewhere and appreciate them. And but I do have to say, though, that I don't feel bad for them when it comes to Amber being ungrateful, because that is who she has always been. And this is who they have chosen to go above and beyond to defend for years, to the detriment of other people and to the detriment of even Leah sometimes. And, again, I want to go back to the Andrew situation. Amber did to Andrew the same thing she had been doing to Gary for years. And so instead of, as a fellow victim, reaching out and trying to offer support to the baby daddy and build a relationship between the siblings for Leah, they chose to side with Amber, who they knew was a deadbeat, allegedly, of course, and an abuser. This one I can't say allegedly because, she's on probation for something like that, for abuse, sorry. And they chose to instead victim blame him. So for that reason, I say you get what you get when you defend someone like Amber. Amber then claims that she wants to do therapy with Leah, but then Gary says that, listen, Leah has a lot of feelings towards Amber, which to me was kind of French for Leah can't stand your ass. And Gary also says that Leah and her friends have been seeing Amber's manic Instagram rants and that Leah is incredibly embarrassed by them. And I don't blame her. I'm embarrassed by them. And I don't even know Amber. Like, she has been just off the rails with her Instagram rants. And she, has been talking crap about both of Leah's parents. And of course, like, I get what Gary's saying, which is that, yeah, sure, you want to do therapy, but then here you are online embarrassing my child all the time, talking crap about me and her mom. So I could try to convince her to do therapy with you, but she's not at that place yet where she can accept doing therapy with you because she doesn't want to have a relationship with you. So like right now, it's kind of useless to her. So Dr. Drew glosses over the fact that Amber has been embarrassing her child, talking poorly about her only parents on Instagram Live, and then takes Amber's side and tells Gary that Amber is right about them needing therapy. And it's like, okay, I get that. Yeah, they do need therapy, but Amber needs to stop doing what she's doing first, and then Leah might want to start inching into that. Like, they can't just drag her into therapy if she's not ready to. And if Amber is still going to continue doing these things. And so Gary defends himself. He's like, listen, Amber's been having the same issues for like 10 years now. And so I felt like Dr. Drew really fanned the flames here, because instead of just calmly, this is what he wanted to do, saying, oh, like defusing the situation and like kind of navigating the topic back somewhere that he wanted to, he goes, oh, whoa, we're not going to say that. We're not. And of course, that riles Amber up. And then Amber, he claims that Gary was deflecting at that point, but the queen of deflection, Amber, then takes this opportunity to be the spokesperson for the mental health community. You know what I mean? She's like, well, guys, for the mental health community, don't let people like this put you down, to really try and make Gary look like he said something against people with mental health issues, when it really is just him calling out a deadbeat mom, and it was just so awful. Like, she's constantly blaming the fact that she has no interest in either of her kids on mental health, which is just so not fair. And again, Dr. Drew does not clock her for doing this. And so NASA then asks, why didn't Christina join you, Gary, on the stage here? And then Gary explains that the reason is because Amber has accused the two of them of being two-faced. And he's like, listen, I went over to her house after that rant that she did online, like, accusing me of being two-faced, blah, blah, blah. I put my arm around her to comfort her. And I was like, oh, this sounds a little bit familiar. This sounds like that story that Amber told about how Gary forced her to lie on top of him or something like that, like to cuddle or whatever. And she was very uncomfortable by it. And he's like, yeah, I did that so she'd feel like she wasn't alone. And I was like, I don't know. To me, this is low key you confirming what Amber said. And then he continues on and he's like, really, he actually addressed what Amber claimed about that. And so he's like, nothing inappropriate happened. And he claims that Amber twisted the story. And then Amber shows us where he allegedly touched her, here and here on the hip. And she claimed that he even told her not to tell Christina. And he basically confirmed her, because she repeats the words that he allegedly said. He's like, oh, don't tell Christina, blah, blah. And then Gary says the same thing at the same time as her. I was like, wait a minute. Well, how do you know what she was about to say unless she was just repeating what you said? You know what I mean? And then he says that, listen, if I wanted a side chick, it sure as hell would not be Amber. Are you sure about that though, Gary? Because she was your side chick once upon a time, and she was your side chick while you were with Christina. So it's not that obvious. Dr. Drew then tells Amber that she was unnecessarily starting an SHIT storm when she was claiming that the two of them were two-faced. And Amber gets pissed, y'all. And Dr. Drew doubles down on defending Gary. And I was really happy to see that. At first, he was doubling down on defending Amber. Now here's Gary. So he was really trying to be fair. Although at certain points, I wasn't in agreement with him. And so we then see clips of Leah talking about Amber being a crappy mom, while Gary and Christina constantly defend her. And Amber rolls her eyes at the whole bonus mom combo. It's like, sis, your daughter said that you ain't SHIT. You've never been there. You are just an egg donor. And this woman said, and she's like, this is my mom, Christina. And Christina said, no, I'm just a bonus mom. That was fair enough. How do you scoff at that? You should honestly just feel shame. I don't know how this girl shows her face in public. If I had a child and my child was saying this stuff about me and she didn't want me at her birthday party and only my mom went, I would be too ashamed to leave my house. So when we get back to them after the montage, Amber explains that the reason she was upset about the bonus mom comments, she's like, listen, she could have said more than just, I'm just a bonus mom. It's like, really, sis, why don't you have a relationship with your child so she doesn't even have these feelings in the first place? Stop trying to blame everybody else. The problem is you. And she then actually, in a turn of events, thanks Gary for sticking up for her all those times that Leah has, acknowledged the fact that she ain't SHIT. But then she claims that it's Christina who's horrible, and Dr. Drew tries to defend Christina, but Amber just keeps on going, railroading the conversation, because she knows we're about to talk about the fact that Leah can't stand her and doesn't think that she's a mom at all. And so she's like, oh, well, I want to end this on a positive note. Thank you, Gary. You've always tried to stick up for me, blah, blah, blah. And then she blames everything on Christina. And she's like, we're never going to get along, blah, blah. You and I will always have a relationship. But me and Christina, no, she's fake. She's this, she's that. She needs to know her place. And then she storms off before we can get into the Leah tea, which I didn't like. It was a great deflection. Speaking of Dr. Drew claiming that Gary was the one deflecting earlier in the episode, and I wish that at that point he continued to ask Gary about Leah not feeling like Amber was a mom to her. But then we get into Cheyenne instead. And that's not a complaint. I like Cheyenne, but like, I was like, really, you left me on a cliffhanger here. Maybe they'll get into it a little bit more when Christina joins us for part 2. I don't know, but they really left me hanging there. So speaking of Cheyenne, she's on this chair and Dr. Drew immediately asks her why she's not yet married. This poor girl cannot catch a break. But, listen, she's the one who put it out there before. She's like, like, I want to do things different than the way I had Ryder, which was, a one-night stand situation, and she didn't know who the daddy was or whatever. And like, listen, at least this time she knows who the daddy is, but she's still in the baby mama situation. And I think that like by her putting that out there is the reason why people just keep asking her about the whole marriage thing. But to me, it's kind of like, it's so rude. You don't see a ring on her finger. So why even ask her? Like, are you married? Why aren't you? You know what I mean? It's like, just leave her alone. So anyway, she says that they will get married, but we need to get back to her in a couple of months. I don't know, y'all. So anyway, she talks a bit about her activism. By the way, thank God for that Chauvin verdict. And then Nessa asks why this time she and Zach will stick as a couple. Remember, they've broken up and gotten back together a couple of times before. And Cheyenne says that it's because they've always had a friendship base. And then she tells a story about how he waited 10 years to sleep with her. And it's like, well, okay. Like, I don't know how that's different than the last couple of breakups, because like you guys, I assume we're already banging like the last couple of times that you were in relationships. I don't get this 10-year story, but I digress. Anyway, Cory and his twirly bang then join us on the couch. And like, listen, he says that he loves Cheyenne and Zach as a couple. And he also says that he wants a lot more kids, and he's especially hoping to get a boy at some point, but that he will wait for a little bit. Look at that, family planning. But here's the thing. No one asked him about when he and Taylor are going to get engaged. Like, they've already got one kid together. They're still together and they're planning to have more kids. Why is there no question about him? When are you going to pop the question to Taylor, right? So Maci's up next, and she tells us that she wants Ryan to either be all in on therapy and improving his relationship with Bentley, or all out, just stay out of the picture, because she doesn't like Bentley constantly being in limbo when it comes to his relationship with his father. And I totally agree with her. And then she talks about the shooting situation. She's like, I was the only customer in the store, and I was like really petrified for her, right? And she literally felt the glass like hitting her when the shots kind of like rang out there. And she talks about how she has been going to therapy to help with her PTSD. And she says that tapping helps her. And when she raised her fluorescent pink hands next to her golden like face and neck, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? But anyway, I'm really happy for her that, she is improving and that she has found something that helps her deal with the PTSD, because that must be absolutely horrifying. So her husband Taylor then joins her on stage, guns up blazing. They ask him like, what have you been like most, I don't know, like what has been most notable to you or something like that throughout the season? And then Taylor's like, watching Bentley transform into a young man has been so amazing to watch. I've been really impressed by that. But I've also been impressed at how Ryan manages to get dumber by the week. Just when you think he's like maximum dumb, he just gets dumber next week. And yeah, it was quite wild. I mean, he actually also calls Ryan a POS right off the gate. And I just knew that he was going to give me the reunion I deserved at that moment. And so, he says, listen, the reason I'm so pissed off right now is because I'm upset about Ryan calling Maci, my wife, a bitch. And listen, he has also been picking at his son over the years. He's called him a crybaby and stuff like that. And then he's like, listen, Ryan needs to be a man and sit face to face with us and stop calling Maci names and stop picking on his own son. And I was like, 2 snaps for you, Glenn Coco, a real father here, And then Dr. Drew asked them about, do you think Ryan's sober? They're like, nope, I don't think so. And then we pan out. Jen and Larry were sitting right across from them this whole time, which just makes it even funnier for me. You know what I mean? Now it puts it into context. You know how I did that like reaction video to like the preview? Like, I thought they brought out Jen and Larry after to join them, but like they were just right across. And that's why Larry was so fidgety with that damn couch, because he was pissed at everything that Taylor was saying right in front of him. And it just made it Oh my God, it's so much juicier. Then we get into like the stuff that like we saw like in my reaction video. So like I'm just gonna fast forward to the part where we, the preview ended at, which gives me a lot more context about the thing. You know how I said like I didn't understand, was it the end of the world that they were like, oh, like Bentley, why don't you say hi to your dad or whatever, take a picture? Because I get the whole like not forcing kids to hug other people. Like, yeah, I agree with that, but like that's not what he was saying. Like at the time, Taylor said that they're putting Bentley into dangerous situations. And so to me, it didn't like connect, but I do agree. Yeah. Like, why is Bentley the one who always has to go and see Ryan? But at the same time, I'm kind of like, well, maybe this is Jen and Larry's way of trying to like gauge Bentley's comfort level. Like maybe they are the ones who are like, well, maybe it's better if Bentley wants to do that. You know what I mean? Versus Ryan, like just popping up on him. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I think that, you know what I mean? Like I kind of maybe might get where they were coming from. At the same time, I do agree that it is not Bentley's responsibility. And then Taylor claims that they've been guilt tripping Bentley to be the one to have that relationship with Ryan. And I agree, complete problem. Ryan is like 30 something years old, an alleged father of 3. Like he's the one who needs to take responsibility and, build that relationship. I'm also really curious to know if he's been continuing with the therapy and if they've had the joint therapy yet. That's kind of where we left off with him doing his first session on this season, but he hasn't done it with Bentley yet. And Taylor then says, listen, Ryan has never been there for Bentley. And Larry has the nerve to ask Taylor where he was the first 3 years of Ryan's kid's life. It's like, where was Ryan? We watched it on 16 and Pregnant in the early seasons of Teen Mom OG. Ryan was not there for Bentley the first 3 years of his life. So who are you asking this random man, well, not random, this man who did not know Bentley or his mom the first 3 years of Bentley's life, where he was? Like, where was your son, sir? This is so embarrassing. You are so dumb. You are really dumb. For real. Really, dude? Really? Oh my God. And then Maci said the same thing. She's like, Ryan was hardly there. What are you talking about? Like, Taylor was living his life in Texas. What? And, it was Jen and Larry who were doing the co-parenting for Ryan. And again, y'all, I was dead to the bed when Taylor was taunting Larry. Like, why don't you leave? Go call the tabloids, because Larry was getting really hyped, y'all. He was like, or I'm so upset. Like, he's getting up and stuff and posturing. Taylor's like, why don't you leave then? Go call the tabloids. And he said it a couple of times. I was like, oh my God, the disrespect. And then he called Larry a sorry son of a bitch. Taylor was done. He was done. He wanted no more of this. And I was living for it, y'all. Mimi Jen started to get really pissed off with Taylor once he said the son of a bitch comment. And then Dr. Drew was like, guys, this is not putting Bentley first. This argument is just not doing it. And then, Taylor's like, listen, I am pissed. This guy's son, like Ryan, really sat up there and called my wife an evil bitch. And I was like, oh my God, man. Oh my God. Oh my God. Like the way he is like standing up for Maci on this, child. Amazing. And so they then get into like the whole like phone call. Larry throws out like a phone call. He's like, well, your mouth a couple of years ago, you called Ryan on the phone, blah, blah, blah. And then Maci claims that the phone call was recorded. Taylor claims that that's a phone call that, Ryan threatened him or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, damn, let's really get into that. Like that was going to be brought up in part 2 of the reunion. And so like part 1 really just ends on this note. It was just so chaotic. There were so many words flying around. Taylor and Larry just kept getting up, sitting down, getting up, sitting down. I was like, my heart was beating. I don't know if it was the coffee or what, but my heart was beating. I'm looking at it like, oh my God. Like I deserve this. Like, this is for me. Like I put up with 12 episodes of, basically nothing. Leah was serving this season. Leah was really serving, but no one else. You know what I mean? Like, and so I just like, okay, like it was worth it to hang in there for this season. Like, guys, if you have not seen the season, like whatever, like you did not miss much, okay? But what you really do need to watch is this reunion special. Like part 1 was just everything I thought it would be and more. Like it was amazing, So if you're like me, you don't live in Canada, you can't watch it for free online. Get yourself a VPN and just enjoy like parts 1, 2, 3 of the reunion special. And while you're at it, binge on like the older episodes of Teen Mom OG and like, Teen Mom 2 that were so freaking juicy. I've got a link in the description box down below if you want to sign up with the service that I use to watch all of this stuff. It is an affiliate link, by the way. So your sis will be getting some coins if you sign up. Anyway, you guys, that does it. A recap of what went down on part 1 of the Teen Mom OG season 9 reunion special. Whew. But as usual, I'm more excited to hear what you have to say about everything. So please make sure to let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching.